everybody, Urav Desai here with the full tropical update for Wednesday, October 10th, 2018. Of course, the main story remains powerful Category 4, well, now Category 3 Hurricane Michael, but it did make landfall in Mexico Beach, Florida, as a almost Category 5 hurricane. It had winds of 155 miles per hour as it did come on shore. It's still maintaining a lot of its strength, though, even as it moves further inland, as it starts to enter regions of southwestern Georgia. So we will be able to, or we will be focusing on Michael for several days to come still, as it does start to impact regions further inland in Georgia and the Carolinas. In other news, we do also have Tropical Storm Sergio in the eastern Pacific, which is going to be approaching the Baja Peninsula over the next couple of days. And we also have Hurricane Leslie still in the central Atlantic, and south and east of that we have Tropical Storm Nadine, which is currently not visible on this satellite image, but we will talk about that later as well. Looking at the National Hurricane Center site, if you go to the 5-day outlook, you can see that in addition to Michael and Leslie and Nadine, we do also have a disturbance that will be forming, low pressure will be forming in the next couple of days in the Caribbean. Ironically enough, it will be in a similar location as Michael, but at least the good news with this system is that right now, as of right now, the majority of models are not developing this system into anything. However, there is still a 50% chance of development within the next 5 days, so this does bear watching over the next couple of days. And now moving to the East Pacific, we do have Tropical Storm Sergio, now a 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm. It is still holding on to quite a bit of strength, though, as it does start to continue moving north and east towards the Baja California peninsula. And looking at the 5-day cone, you can see that there are now tropical storm watches up for a large part of the central Baja California peninsula, as Sergio is expected to make landfall in that region as a moderate tropical storm. Will probably maintain its strength, maybe weaken slightly as it does start to make landfall. And the landfall will be happening Thursday evening into early Friday morning, and it will be bringing some gusty winds and some heavy rain to the Baja Peninsula. And now looking at Tropical Storm Nadine, you can see that there are some heavy thunderstorm activities associated with Nadine, and Nadine currently does have winds of 65 miles per hour. So it is fairly organized at the moment. However, there is some very strong wind shear to its west, and that is evidenced, as you can see, the center of circulation is right around here, and the thunderstorms are starting to escape the center of circulation. They are being sheared to the right as we speak, and so Nadine is forecast to dissipate by Friday morning or Friday evening, and it should not be a threat to any land masses, which is definitely some good news, as we don't need any more threats to land, especially not after Michael. Now looking at Hurricane Leslie, Leslie has been now churning in the Atlantic for over 2 weeks. It originally formed September 23rd, if you remember. It did dissipate, but then it did redevelop, and now it's still continuing to churn. It's back to hurricane strength. It does have winds of 75 miles per hour. And as you can see, it's going to remain a hurricane for the next several days to come until around Saturday, as it starts to head east, approaching the Canary Islands. That would be a very rare hit if it did actually make landfall on one of the Canary Islands, as they usually never really get any tropical systems. But it is forecast to then go south and then head back west. And as you can see, it's still forecast to remain even a depression within the next 5 days. So Leslie will still be hanging around for at least 5 more days, but then after that, it should finally dissipate for good. We've been talking about this system forever. But the good news is with Leslie is that even though it's been lasting so long, it hasn't been a threat to any land, and does not look like it will be any threat to land, which is some great news. Of course, what is a threat to land, though, is Category 3 Hurricane Michael. It has just crossed the border. It crossed through, actually, the region where Florida, Alabama, and Georgia all meet, that corner right around here, and it is now starting to move into areas of southwestern inland Georgia. And as you can see, though, it's still looking very gray. On the satellite imagery, it is kind of hard to see at the end there, as the daylight is starting to fade. It is 6 p.m. at the moment, Eastern Time. So the sun is starting to set in this region. However, you can see that it is continuing to maintain its circulation. The eye is starting to disintegrate, however, and that can be easily seen more better seen on the infrared satellite. As you can see, the eye was still very well intact, though, as it was moving through Florida, but it has started to dissipate, and the eye has basically vanished now as it has moved into Georgia. But as you can see, the actual structure of the storm has basically remained the same. Thunderstorms have gotten a little bit less severe, though. The cloud tops have cooled off, but besides that, it's basically kept much of its structure, its actual shape is similar still to how it was when it made landfall. But that will also start to disintegrate as it does start to head further north and east and spends more time over land. But this thing will take a while to weaken as it came in at such a high strength already, and it's moving through low-lying flat areas, so there's not really any mountains to disrupt it and weaken it quickly. And the other reason is that it's moving relatively fast, so it will be able to cover more area. So by the time it does reach into the Carolinas, it's still going to remain a tropical storm. It's not forecast to become a remnant low at all during any point when it's on the land. Now, if we look at the radar imagery, this is out of the National Weather Service Tallahassee, Florida radar, and you can see there continues to be a tornado watch up for the region, for the Iowa region, in southwest Georgia, covers southwest Georgia, southeastern Alabama, and northern Florida panhandle. And you can see that the tornado threat will be continuing to exist. There will be still a threat for tornadoes for quite a while associated with Michael. And also looking at the 5-day cone now, you can see the hurricane warnings are still up for the Florida Panhandle, but there should be a drop relatively soon as Michael is starting to pull away. But there are tropical storm warnings up for the entire Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina coast, and for areas further inland. However, on the National Hurricane Center map, they only show warnings for the coastline. But there are tropical storm and hurricane force warnings for regions of southern Georgia and central Georgia, and tropical storm warnings for the Carolinas. Even areas further inland are also under the tropical storm warnings. Now, for the storm surge forecast, you can see that storm surge of 9 feet was reported for the Apalachicola Bay region, and the storm surge threat will continue to exist for the next several hours until Michael does fully start to pull away. So the threats will still be there associated with Michael. Things are starting to clear out, though, as Michael is starting to pull away. The rain has basically stopped for the coast, which is definitely great news, and the winds have definitely started to die down. They are still pretty gusty, but they have started to decrease, which is some great news. But of course, Michael did leave its mark, and it did already bring some devastating, very damaging winds and rain and storm surge, and it caused a lot of destruction for especially the Panama City region, Panama City to Apalachicola Bay, and it will continue to bring devastating conditions for areas further inland into Georgia as well. You can see on the intensity forecast now that the majority of the models, some of the models have it remaining in Category 4 and even Category 5, which makes absolutely no sense, as it's not going to be able to strengthen when it's further inland. I have no idea what's going on with those models, but pay no attention to that. Instead, they'll pay attention to most of the models, which do still have, even 12 hours from now, when it's well inland, well into central Georgia, they still show possibly a hurricane Category 1, maybe even still a Category 2 hurricane. I don't think it'll be a Cat 2 still by that point, but there's a chance that definitely will probably still be a Cat 1 in 12 hours time. And then even 24 hours from now, most of the models do have it at least at tropical storm strength, maybe strong tropical storm, maybe still a hurricane even a whole day after making landfall. That would definitely be something amazing sight to see, that it's able to keep so much strength, as even though it's moved so far inland. And all that also does have to do with the fact that it was strengthened all the way until landfall, so it was able to maintain its core better as it does move inland. Now, looking at the rain forecast from the GFS model, this is the 12Z run, but if we do look at the 18Z run now, I believe it's gone up to hour 84, so that should be good enough. You can see that the rain threat exists for areas far inland, far away from the point of landfall. There's a forecast for another 5 to 6 inches of rain in southwestern Georgia on top of what's already fallen. And for areas of the Carolinas, they could see 3 to 4 inches of rain. In some areas here in Virginia, in the Delmarva region, could see up to 6 to 8 inches of rain, as Michael is forecast to further strengthen once it starts to head offshore, and then combined with a cold front which will be moving through the region tomorrow into Friday. There will be a chance for some very heavy rain and some heavy flooding in this region of the U.S. So definitely a chance for some high rainfall and some flooding conditions. Now looking at the next several days for the tropical Atlantic, you can see based on the MJO Madden-Julian Oscillation forecast that there is still a chance that the tropics will remain active. And we can see that, of course, because we do have another disturbance on its way. And also it does show activity for the Indian Ocean region and for the Western Hemisphere, which is the tropical Atlantic. Now looking at the computer models to actually see what's going to be going on over the next few days, this is the European 12Z run as of today. You can see, if I put it into motion, you can see that it does have, of course, Michael moving inland through the Carolina region and exiting around the Virginia region into the open Atlantic. It still has Leslie meandering, but weakening as it starts to head south and back west again. And however, it does not show any development, does not show any system or low pressure in the Caribbean Sea in 5 days rather, despite the disturbance, the 50% chance disturbance. Now looking at the GFS model to compare the GFS, so a similar situation. It has Michael a bit further north though, as an extratropical cyclone, which means that it would be dumping more rain and bring some heavy winds, chance for some heavy winds for the northeast region as well. And then also you can see that it has Nadine dissipating rather quickly in 3 days' time, and then of course Leslie is still meandering, and it does have a low pressure around 4 days from now, 1,010 millibars. That would just be a disturbance. It would not be a tropical depression or storm yet, but then it does have that low pressure disappearing, so it does not show any development either. But now if we do look at the FV3 GFS run, this is out of the 12Z, you can see that it shows, it does actually show some development, however. Unlike the regular GFS, this is the new GFS that's forecast to be officially used starting next year, 2020, I believe. This is the test version of that, though. But you can see that it does actually show a tropical storm, and it does take a moderate tropical storm into areas of Honduras. This will be around 5 to 6 days from now. So there's still a threat that a system could develop in the Caribbean within the next 5 days. So the hurricane season is not just over quite yet. It is still October. So we do still have a threat for some development within the next week or two before things do start to finally quiet down as we head into November. I'll probably have another update regarding Michael later this evening into tonight. Please stay safe, everybody.